Hello. Yeah, welcome to another cool time with Blessed. And today we'll be taking the second video in our cloud security series. Today we'll be looking at key management lifecycle, where we'll be creating KMS, AWS KMS Master Keys, and also using such keys to encrypt S3 buckets, elastic block storage, as well as maybe an EC2 instance, a Redshift stuff. We'll just do some random stuff today. Now we will be creating, encrypting, as well as deleting users or removing them from using such keys. So stick around, and I hope this doesn't get pretty longer than I expect it to be. Right, here we are logged in already. As you can see, last time we had created some users and some IAM. So today we'll be doing the task, which will be to first create that master key. Let's go get some keys, guys. All right, so we're already logged in. Now we will look for the KMS. We could either check around here, or we could just type here KMS, and that should give us what we're looking for. There you go, key management service. So we're going to click on key management service. And my internet seems a little bit slow today. Yeah, so we got key management service clicked on that. Now the next thing to do is to maybe check on the console page, maybe click on customer managed keys. Let's see, we don't seem to have any key here, but we could do the customer managed keys. You just click on this. There we go, right there. Now one step at a time, we're progressing. Now the customer management key section is right in front of us. We can look around and see what this is all about. To my right, I can see some key actions, but we do not have any key currently, so that's all flagged out. We cannot access them. So right here, we're going to create a new key. So we'll click on create key, and we've got two options right before us, symmetric and asymmetric. And for those who are familiar with cryptography, I believe we know symmetric, but the encryption and the decryption key will be the same. Why asymmetric? You have this different thing happening there. So we could also look around the public infrastructure using that idea of public key and private key, unlike the digital certificate stuff. Okay, now we have this. We could advance from this point and maybe name the key we're creating and do a few other stuff. But I think I'm just going to go with a single encryption key that is used for both. It'll just work with this because we don't want to go through the huddle of this for now. So click on symmetric. Next, now we can give it an alias. Alias will help us later on to easily just call it or use it to do what we want to do. So we could call this maybe training, or just call it YouTube training. Okay, now we've got that. The description, we'll just put some random this, my keyboard. Will help us implement a security control to manage confidentiality and integrity of our assets. That sounds fun. All right, so good. Now there is, oh, I may have spelled that, oh, the confidentiality. Thanks, Grammarly. So you can look at what we have here right at the moment. You can use tags to customize, but I'm not going to be doing any tagging stuff today. I'm just going to click next. As a good practice, you should explore with this so you can understand. Now, if you look here, I've got my Paolo user from the last session. Then we've got this service role for support the service row for trusted advisory. Now we could start looking at what to do with this. So we are in the process of creating our keys. Now the key administrator, I'm going to just leave that to Paulo for now, since he seems to be the only person I've got in here, and maybe that will help us just pretty much keep it on the low key kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So I'm not adding anything. I didn't add that like I told you. So now we've got the key administrator in there. I think we can proceed to next. Key deletion, we can see allow key administrators to delete. This Paulo guy can actually delete this key. Remember from the last session, we only gave Paulo, I don't think we created permissions for Paulo. So let's see how that's going to work for us. Next. Okay, now these accounts. So we're trying to define the key usage or usage permissions. We can see this is an IAM user and role that can use the key, KMS key in cryptographic operation. I'm going to just limit that as well to Paulo, just for some reasons. I could probably add some other accounts, but I'm not doing that for now. So I'm just leaving that to Paulo. Okay, moving on with this. Now the key configuration, we can see you cannot change the key configuration after the key is created. So we can look at what we just configured. We see symmetric. We see the key spec symmetric defaults, encrypt and decrypt using the same key. Its origin is Amazon or AWS KMS. Then it's for single region key. So we could have keys that spans across regions, but this is just a single region key. So we gave it an alias. And now we can go down. I'm always interested in looking at this because this is where the fun happens. Okay, cool. So we can see the key ID. We can see the version. Then the statements. So we have this SID. Enable IAM user permissions. The effect is to allow. If I change this to disallow, then that can be used. So maybe when we start looking at auditing, we'll see how we can make amends to some of this. Then we can see the principal, which is roots. Then the action is KMS, the resource. Again, going down, we can see the allowed access for key administrator. This is where you find Paulo being the administrator, which we added. Then look around still, you can see actions that he is allowed. Now I could restrict him if I want to by modifying some of these actions. He's got create, describe, enable, list, probably everything that is there for him to do. Then also we use the wildcard asterisk here. You can see that resource. Then the seed allow the use of key, and in this case we're defining actions that Paulo can actually do with the key. He can encrypt, he can decrypt, he can re-encrypt, even generate data key and describe the key. We've got these other things happening there as well, all on Paulo. So grant is for AWS resource. We have that set up to true as well. And there go the keys, there goes the key policy. Now at this point, I think I'm pretty much satisfied. I'm just going to click finish on this. Remember, I did say we can assign multiple users. So now we've got the alias YouTube training key and the key ID, and we can see it's a symmetric key. I think we're done with our first task by getting the key up and running. Okay, so now the next thing for us to do is to probably we could click on this just to see. It's going to take us in here, reviewing the policy again, then checking up a few other things which are of importance. We could make modifications. Remember, the path is defined there as well. You could check the graphic configuration. This is the ARN. Just look around, more or less what auditing what we just did. There's no harm in doing that. Okay, so our next task will be to create the S3 buckets and use our keys to encrypt the S3 buckets. Quickly, I'm just going to search for S3. I'll have multiple options, but I'm going to stick with the S3 scalable storage in the cloud. Okay, just clicked on it and it's not responding. Oh, there you go. Okay, so this is up. Currently, we don't have no buckets. As we can see, we're just going to create buckets. So we're going to give this a random name. Let's say we call this buckets. Okay, that sounds like a fun name. All right, great. So that's our buckets. We could copy settings from existing, but we don't have none currently. Now, looking at security from this point, we could currently allow, but I won't be stupid to do that. And please do not try that because you don't have no security control set up currently. So don't just click on allow or public access and allow some fun guys to go do stuff on your bucket. Okay, I'm going to enable versioning. Then I won't put no tag currently. Then encryption, I will enable that. Now I can start encryption. Remember, encryption is not going to keep the bucket secure. We're just trying to see how we can manage confidentiality integrity from the triads, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we want to see if it's possible to build a layer of security using our sense of security here. Now I'm going to stick to the KMS because I know I've got the keys already. Then I'll choose from my key. I should find my key there, the YouTube training key. So I'm just going to select this key, which is what we have. Now I could create a new one if I want to, but this seems pretty fine for me. Okay, then it all looks good. It all looks good. And advanced, currently we won't do nothing there for now. Let's just create this and go make some other settings when it's created. Okay, so there we go. We've got our buckets created with some bare basic settings. Now I'm going to just click on the buckets so I can make some other changes. So if you look here, the first thing we see is objects. So currently there are nothing in the buckets. So, but we could click on upload and start putting stuffs in our bucket. Maybe stuff we want to make public, stuff we want to share amongst other employees in our company. We could start putting stuffs in there. But currently there is nothing in this buckets. I'm just going to leave that because that's not what I want to do. Then I'll check properties. So under properties, we could see some of the default settings which we had created from the point we created the buckets. The versioning is currently enabled. We could make some modifications there just so we set it the way we want to. No tag. The encryption. So if you look at encryption, we can see the AWS Key Management Service is what we're using. And we can see that key set there. A quick way to verify this is maybe I search KMS just to verify it. And open this in a new tab. I want to go look at that key and be sure it looks like what we have in there. So we go to customer managed keys. We should find our key in there. And this is what we have. So if we look at this and then you look at what we have here, they should be the same thing, just this part of it here. It should be the same thing. So for my analysis, they are the same. I'm going to skip it as headed. Anyways, so intelligent tiering, currently we don't have nothing just because we just have this bucket. So, but we could do some good stuff with this later on as we start building more buckets. Then the server access login, currently no login. And that's not good because for you to have that visibility, it's always good to enable login. So let's implement that security on our buckets. So we could browse and look for our buckets, which is this. We just select that and we choose a path. So we've got our buckets in there. Now we're enabling login on our buckets. We can save the changes. So this looks pretty cool. We've got permissions. Before permissions, let's verify. This looks good. Currently no CloudTrail, but that's something which we'll be doing in the future because it's going to help us to keep track on logs, kind of like manage all that stuff. Then event notification, currently no notification, but I want to show you stuff. We could create some notifications like triggers, which is also a good security practice, but I don't think I'll be doing that today, but I just want to show you. We could give it a name, maybe a prefix, and maybe a suffix, but all those are optional. We could just give it a name. Maybe you just call it a monitor. Monitor my buckets. Monitor, what's that name again? Money 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. Now we could set triggers for each of these events, or I could just select all of them. So whenever someone is putting stuff, posting stuff, copying stuff, or multi-pattern upload complete, it's going to give me trigger. Now, the more stuff I select, the more buggy and clumsy it becomes. But also for the destination, we currently do not have a Lambda function created or set, so we won't be doing this like I did say. I'm just going to cancel this for now. So falling back into this, and we have seen basically everything here. Requester pays. Currently, we're not going to do nothing here, basically, because it shows how someone is trying to push stuff from our buckets and how they're able to access that, and also setting some policies around that. Transfer acceleration, it's good to put it pretty fast, so someone is not there trying to do stuff and is getting frustrated because it's pretty slow. So I'm just going to set that. I'm going to set that as well, and wait for that to load. Now we've got that thing happening. Let's still review as a good practice. So currently nothing is in that bucket, remember. So, but if we've got something, we could play around with the static website hosting, but that I will leave for now. Requester pays, I'll leave for now. Object lock, I'm going to still leave it for now as default. No. So I'm going to fall quickly back into permissions and look at what I have there. So currently I'm blocking all. Now by the time I'm done and I want to expose this, I can unblock this and maybe select, I can edit this, sorry, and maybe unblock this, then select the kind of access I want to allow. I could define ACLs to manage that for me, but I'm not doing that yet. I still want to leave this block on all because I don't want no access to that bucket. Yes. Okay. Object ownership. We could make some modifications there, just put some write-ups and also other stuffs. Then currently no ACLs. We could start creating ACLs if we wish to expose this bucket in the future. So I'm just going to showcase a few stuffs here. The bucket owner currently can do everything. So look at that. I can list, I can write, I can read, and it's more like what you have in the full access or full permissions, either on the Windows or on the Linux environment. Then everyone else, if we look at everyone else, we can see that's the public access. Currently, there is nothing set. I could set only maybe a list or maybe only a read access. Then authenticated user group. I think I won't allow everyone from my best security practice, maybe only authenticated user group. So those IAMs that I have within my cloud infrastructure, I could just set permissions for them. Currently, you see it flags out the right and right. Only read access is allowed. Okay, I could set up a policy to make modifications to that. Then also the S3 log delivery group. We can see these guys have read and write. And that's because we've got those logs, right? We want to actually play with those logs and see those logs. So currently, I will leave this as default as it is. Only me and the log delivery group have some form of access to that bucket. I'm just going to click that in my ACL and save that change. Then what else do we have in permissions? Still looking at permissions. We've got some basic ACL thing as default as it is. Then the grantee. If we look at the grantee, we can see a few more details which will give us link to the assets that obviously they will have. Now remember, my owner, I have to be authenticating to this to be able to use this. The S3 log delivery group also, whoever is in that group, from my permissions, they have to authenticate. So if you just copy this and you try to just access this randomly, that ain't going to work. And everyone else, I did not set no permission, so they've got no access. So we're talking about security here. So we have to be sure it is at the best form of its sort. So the metric currently, we won't see nothing there because there is obviously no activity happening around there. Management, if you look at management, currently also there's nothing, but we could play around this, more or less the lifecycle rules, where we want to tear this down quickly, or where we want to allow how far we want this to span until we shut it down. Now, there had been multiple problems around exposed buckets for some organizations that don't even know that these buckets are exposed. That happens because proper management is not implemented when this. So next, we're going to repeat the same task, but this time around for EBS, Elastic Block Storage. So we're looking at EC2. So let's quickly get that started. We're going to search for EC2, and we'll be working with the first option here, virtual servers in the cloud, EC2. So what we'll be doing is we want to try and see if we can get that created and encrypt it using our KMS, which we created in our first task. So we are waiting for this to load. I'm not sure what's happening there. Okay, I didn't click it. I guess I didn't click it. So great, we have got this loading, and this is what it looks like. A little bit more content, unlike the other two which we had seen previously. So you may need some form of practice to understand what is happening here. But we're going to be making some configurations, some basic configuration, which will help us to be able to do what we want to do today. So great, let's just do a quick review and look at what we have there. What we'll be looking at today is volumes. We'll just be concerned about volumes for the start. But you see, you've got a bunch of other stuff, Elastic IP. We can make some changes, create some security groups. Currently, I see there's one. Then let's just click on the volumes and get started. So we will be creating a new volume. Now, a quick warning, not really a warning, just to mention, encrypting a volume that has already been created may not work here because we've got the volume created before we got the keys created. But I'm not sure if that is something that works now. I knew I tried that before, didn't work out fine. Pretty cool. So let's create a new volume, and we will try and populate the details. So what we've got here first, volume type, general purpose SSD. We've got some other options depending on what you want to work with, but for now I think I may just stick with the first option there, just so I make this easy for myself. General purpose SSD GP2, that seems pretty fine for me. Maybe a size not too big. Obviously I'm going to tear it down once I'm done so I don't get billed for this. Okay, so maybe a size of 100 probably. I see a minimum of 1 GB. I'll just do 10 GB. Anyways. Okay, great. Now the throughput. Talking about the throughput, this speed kind of like it's not applicable. Maybe we just increase that to 100. That's fine. It's not applicable currently. We can see throughput, the throughput that the volume can support. Currently nothing there, so let's just see if we can make some modifications, or probably leave it the way it is. Available zones, currently we will probably stick with the default there, but based on what you have in your infrastructure, you may be configuring these to match your configuration policy. Then the snapshot ID, we see there is nothing there as well currently. Obviously if I click on the drop down, there are quite a number of options which you can work with. But I think I'm going to stick to the VMDK because I've got some VMDK stuff that I want to put in there later. So I'm just going to stick with the first one. Now, encrypt this volume is the core of this task. So we can showcase how we can use our keys to encrypt this, which is the YouTube training. We're going to select that. Then we see it populate the details of our keys. Then we've got that going on for us. Now we can add tag, but I'm not doing that also here, no tagging. So we see we've got the key thing happening, which is the core. Then we create that volume. So we ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. So we've got the volume thing created. Now we're just going to click on this to take us into that volume, and we'll make some further modifications on this volume. So quickly we can check the description. We can see the current description, we see the snapshots, the status check, the monitoring. Currently no alarm, nothing is set as a trigger on this volume. Then so we see everything there is probably blank, nothing is happening yet. Then tags, we didn't create no tags. So from this point we've got the volume created, and we've got the basic settings happening there for us. We've got the encryption also done quickly, pretty smooth. I think there have been some upgrades around this, because before I know you had to go do that. After creating the volume, you have to go do the key thing encryption stuff. So let's see. Now we've got actions. We can make some modifications. Let's say we just click on modify. Quickly, we can change this. Let's say I want to drop this size. I want to just probably change the volume types, but I think I'm going to stick with that still. Obviously, we've got the basic thing happening here around that volume, and it is encrypted, which is our core task for the video, I believe. Okay, so our next task will be to create a Redshift cluster. So let's just quickly search for Redshift. My bad spelling, but it's cool. So we just look for Redshift, and let's see how to do that, and also encrypt it and set some other basic security configuration. So we'll just create a new one since we don't have any there yet, and we will stick to the free. Okay, I'll stick to the free. I'm not going to explain anything else, but still you can see there's some charge calculation there showing us stuff, but I'm going to quickly clear this done once I'm done with this video. All right, so great. We've got the user, AWS user. We can make changes to this. Maybe we'll just call this cool. Now we can auto generate the passwords, or we can use our password. I think I'm going to use our password. Okay, then we can go ahead and create this. So that's going to take some time. Then I think it's going to take some time to build an environment for us. So we're just going to maybe stick around and wait for that. I hope it doesn't take too long. But whilst that is doing its stuff, just want to show a few other stuff. So we can see connecting to the Redshift cluster. Now it's always recommended to work with this. That's always recommended, but you've got other options. Let's say you've already have in your environment, you've got some of these drivers that you are working with to connect to some other of your Redshift stuff. You can still work with them, but you can see AWS actually is telling you, Amazon is telling you that for better performance, it's better you stick to what you just created, which is this. So we will stick to this for today. Won't be showing how to connect to it. Maybe in another video, I'll be glad to showcase that. So we're just going to wait for this to quickly do its stuff. I know I'm going to be billed for some of these things I'm doing, but it's not a problem. It should be in a few cents. Okay. So we're not downloading none of these drivers. We want to wait for ours, then we're going to stick with ours. Whilst that is just doing the stuff over there, we can still click on it, maybe look within just to see some basic stuff. It's still not found, we can see, because it's still building an environment anyways. I just want to walk through some stuff to kill some time. So we can see it gives us the option to do some metric, set some triggers, and also monitor utilization, know who's connecting to it and what they're doing, and as well as giving us that one pane of glass view to managing our instance. I'm going to fall back because this is still building, not ready yet, so barely can see stuff. But even in the action, we've got these multiple actions which we'll be working with also. So let's hope this goes pretty fast. We'll just have to wait for it. Okay, now kill some time. Whoa, error code. Okay, could that be because I was playing with it? Okay, so pretty much going to talk about a few other stuffs. Since we're still on the cloud security series, I will also be showcasing some videos from Microsoft Microsoft's Azure. So we will be looking at how to repeat some of these tasks in Microsoft Azure environment. So stick around and follow through with the series. Please do like our videos, subscribe, and also turn on the notification so you can always get alerts once we've got a new video out there. So we see our stuff is ready. And again, like I did tell you earlier, we can select this and copy the URL so we can always connect to this cluster via this Redshift Cluster URL, which Amazon has recommended we use. So we'll go click on this quickly. Then we're going to make some changes to basic configuration. As you can see, you can also see here, it gives you links that we could use, and this is the one that has been recommended for use. Okay, so we'll edit this. Let's click on edit and make some changes. So quickly, the first thing I want to look at here is, which is the first thing here actually, the backup. So this is configured to take snapshots 1 day. So which means we'll be taking that snapshot just to keep that security control around availability, should in case or should there be something we've got the cover for availability. Then we could also set or relocate this, but we're not going to do that for now. Now we'll drop into the network and security. For this, we will start digging into some of these once we've got VPC thing going on for us. We'll fall back to this. So if I click on open tab, it gives me the ability to be able to make some modifications on this. So if I fall all the way down, I can see currently we're still sticking with this default, which will make some changes. Cluster permission, currently no IAM, so we can attach something. Maybe our user isn't here, so because we didn't set permissions for that. So I'm going to fall back to the cluster and just continue with our task, which is what we aimed at achieving, encrypting this stuff. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to follow the way to database configuration. Let's quickly get that task done for us. Open this. Then if I follow the way down, now I can see I could set up some, this is currently the public IP, this is the private IP. I could set up some maybe bare configuration to manage this, attach an IAM like I did mention earlier, or we could now start considering encryption, which is what we really want to do here. So if I click on edit, I could edit encryption. Now I'm going to select the key which we already have in there. We'll be using ours, which is the YouTube training. That's what we want to work with for today. Then we'll save that changes. Okay, so that loaded pretty much fine, and we've got that encryption thing happening. Let's see, the status currently is modifying, so it's trying to write what we just did and encrypt this cluster. So we're still going to look around a few other stuff while that is rolling in the background. Just to show up a few more stuff, you can see some properties. Based on what you can, the beauty in this is you can build this to mimic what you really want it to look like. That's one beauty about stuff in the cloud. That flexibility is seen, still being modified because it's making right into our changes. That flexibility is there for you to use or do what you want it to do. I cannot barely carry out any other action because I have to wait for this action to be completed. Okay, so we can see that our Redshift cluster is now available to us. So quickly we can just look around and probably look at a few more stuff before we move on to the next task, which will be to add new user to be able to access our master key. Great. So we can click on edit, like I did mention earlier, and we can just review the configuration. It's very important. Very, very important to always review your configuration. Currently, I see all this is set as default. If I need to make any changes, I can open a tab for that and make modifications to meet to my minimum security expectation or my baseline security based on what is defined in my organization. Currently, I do not have any of these set up, so I'm sticking to the defaults as what it is for the network and security configuration there. Then the cluster subnet also, I'm leaving that as default. So I'm working with whatever has been set by the system as default. And if we quickly look at that, we can review that and see what it looks like. For permissions currently, there are no IAM roles created for that, so we cannot use that, like I did mention earlier in the video. And also we can see the public IP as well as you can see the private IP for that stuff in there. So if we fall back to the cluster and maybe look at this time around, let's say we look at maybe we review the sorry, under edits, I mean to go to edits. If we look at database configuration, just to see what we've got going on there. We've already set this thing, remember? I'm just going to open this in a new tab and look at this. Did I click on it? I don't think I did click on it. Okay, great. So I think I did now. All right, so looking at this dashboard, you can clearly see that we've got this encryption happening with the key which we just set. So we are using our KMS to manage encryption for this as compared to what it was the default. Now we can see the default port is 5439. We can actually change this. We can change this. We already set the admin and a password. We can as well change the database name if we wanted to match whatever we want it to do. See, this is quite flexible. This is pretty flexible. You just build this to meet your demand. That's the whole idea of the cloud. Okay, so let's quickly jump into our next task, which will be to add in a new IAM user to access our KMS, and we're going to see how that works for us. So we're going to go back to the KMS. I see I have it open in the window. Probably would have worked with that, but it's okay, not a problem. Now here in KMS, we can see we're not creating a new because we already have something for that running already. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the customer managed keys. Then we'll click on our key. Okay, this is loading. We'll just wait for that to load. Then if we go to the bottom, we could see other AWS accounts. Currently, we only have Paolo. Okay, so our next task will be to do some cleanup. So first, we're going to disable the key, and probably we'll delete those instances you have actually created in the cloud. So we'll quickly select this key, and we'll go to key action. Now we can disable this key, or we can schedule key deletion. But we're just going to disable the key for now, and we'll confirm that we want to disable this key. Yes, that should be pretty fine. Now I'm going to quickly clean up a bit on all the other stuff that you've done, just so we are sure that they don't have access to these keys. So we're going to remove user access to the key, and to do that, probably we'll still fall back in here. We'll open this key up. Then I'm going to go to the key users. I'm just going to select this and remove them. Great. So I'm going to fall back into my S3 bucket and quickly remove that, as well as remove my EC2 instance and the Redshift as well. So I don't end up incurring some charges. Okay, great. Just going to showcase how that works. It's pretty easy. Like I did say, it's pretty easy. I can just select this. It's all about the clicky and delete it. Okay. So I'm going to type in the name there. And that should be pretty fine. Did I type it correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there you go. Okay. So it's gone. Let's fall into the EC2 and also remove this. Okay. Okay. I'm going to check on my volumes. I think I've created a volume. and I'm going to try and see if I can take this out. So I'm going to delete this volume. Okay, this looks clean. The next is the Redshift. So wait for that to load quickly. Then we'll fall in the Redshift as well. Whoa, this is taking a while. Okay, all right, great. So there we go. We should see the default cluster which we have there, which is this. So we want to try and see if we can probably manage this, and maybe just take an action. Any status? Oh, obviously, okay, not cool. So let's click on this quickly. We're seeing there on the action, do we have the right to do it there? We're going to quickly check that. We can delete it. So we're just going to delete that cluster. Yeah, so quickly we've seen how to create this instance, encrypt them, as well as disable them or tear them down, and also remove the encryption. Also removing the users that we have given access to that encryption key. Now, as a quick habit for security, you want to be sure you keep track of everything you're doing so you don't lose touch, and you have the silos. So very important to keep track. So once you don't need these things again, if you can build a database record where you have all the instances that you have created in the cloud, it will help you manage, or you can deploy a third-party tool to do that management for you. It will be helping you to understand how many of these you have there, public facing, non-public facing, as well as managing the charges that come from this, as well as tearing them down when they are not needed, to prevent maybe a compromise on one of them, and also a compromise on your cloud infrastructure. Thank you for sticking around. Please do like our videos and share them, as well as subscribe. Help us grow the YouTube channel, and see you next in the next cloud security series. Thanks.